About a year and a half ago, we talked to Kevin Tillman, Pat Tillman's brother. We got his number. And he said, I don't want to go public right now, but we have a lot of questions. We think he could have been murdered on purpose to silence him. Now, the family's publicly said that. The media has tried to spin it and kind of whitewash what they said and play it down. We know that Pat was writing letters back, talking to different anti-war groups, saying that this is all staged. There was even talk, now that we're hearing about, he was talking about 9/11. They would do staged photo ops, and I've had other Special Forces folks on who read some of those, staged photo ops, blowing up caves and things that nobody was even in, putting out uniforms and, staging events, and that Pat was really mad. Then they admit now that he was shot 3 times at close range in the head, triple burst, from closer than 15 yards, not 1,000 yards or whatever, that they kept shooting him, that he kept begging to not be shot, it kept staying stopped, and that they basically killed him. Then the Army doctors and investigators said it was murder. They were told to shut up. We know that they killed some of the people that spoke out about the private lynch thing being staged, and then she came out and said it was staged. Do you have any comments on, and they admitted a lot of murders have happened in the military to cover things up, any comments on Pat Tillman?
Well, I just think that whole situation is tragic. It's extremely disappointing to see his idealism be subverted and to be basically him to be used as an agent of propaganda. I didn't know Pat, but I paid attention to his story, simply because he's a former NFL player, and it got a lot of attention. And I don't question his motives or his idealism one bit, and I don't fault him in any way for wanting to do what he thought was right.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I just think it's tragic that, when he did join, he and his brother decided to do what they did. He was championed by the media. He was looked at as a hero, and rightfully so. And his story was used as a way to propagate the drums for war further. And then when he wound up, unfortunately and tragically, getting killed, that was also used as a way to further the agenda for war. Even though, as you just clearly explained, they didn't tell the truth about the circumstances surrounding his death. So it was so disheartening to see a guy being used throughout the entire process, used as a guy to sell the war, and then after he was killed, that was used as a way to try and drum up patriotism.
And they covered up the fact that he'd written letters and was firmly against the war, saying it was an illegal war and a fraud.
Yeah, and I guess, like you said, he was planning to make some connections with famous anti-war speakers, Noam Chomsky, Cindy Sheehan. Those were some names that were thrown around. And again, the whole reason that we're supposed to be over there fighting is for our freedoms, right? It's supposedly to protect our freedoms. Yet here is a guy who obviously had his freedoms suppressed in the most drastic way possible, and that was by killing him.
Shifting gears back into 9/11 with Mark Stepnoski, Super Bowl champion, 2-time, 5-time Pro Bowler, joining us for 9/11 Truth here today. And again, I want to commend you and thank you, and I just admire you more than ever. And I never would have thought, watching you in the Super Bowl, that I'd ever be talking to you, much less about such an incredible issue. But here we are, brought together with the audience and people listening all over the world right now. What would you like to see happen with 9/11 Truth? Where would you like to see this go? Because people call for another investigation. I'm sure that sounds fine, but it'll just be the same whitewash. They already tried to have Henry Kissinger as the supposed head of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. How independent could the commission be? How much power would it have? How much time? How much funding? We all know how much Bush and Cheney fought the original 9/11 commission. They didn't want to appear. Then they agreed only to appear together. They wouldn't speak under oath. They fought over who was going to head it. They wouldn't allocate any money towards it. It was just a complete stonewall all the way down the line. I think that right there should make people skeptical about what the government is saying about 9/11.
Well, then what's a plan? I mean, what's your idea, just off the top of your head or from your gut, Mark? I mean, what do you think we should do? Just continue to educate in the court of public opinion?
Oh, I think that never hurts. I think that, a vital and functioning democracy depends on an informed voting populace. We don't have a chance of holding our leaders accountable if we don't educate the public on what is going on and what we can possibly try to do to prevent it. If you're going to expect constitutional government to react in the way that it's supposed to, then impeachment proceedings would be the way to go. I am not a Democrat. However, I am excited that Dennis Kucinich is trying to get something done along those lines. Where that will lead, who knows? But at the same time, everything during this administration has been geared towards increasing executive power. At least articles of impeachment would be a step in the other direction.